I want you to think about the last time you opened an app and immediately felt something. Not from the content, not from the hard paywall begging you to set up a weekly subscription, from the actual design itself. Maybe it was calm, maybe it was hype, maybe it made you feel like you were exactly in the right place. You see those feelings? That's not an accident. That's color doing its job before you've read a single word. Color isn't decoration in the mobile apps these days. It's the first thing your brain processes before the copy, before the layout, before you've even clocked what the app actually does. The palette has already set an emotional contract with you. If you get it right, the users feel at home before they've learned a single interaction. If you get it wrong, and no amount of good UX recovers it. This week, I'm ranking 7 designs by one thing. How well did their color choice earn its place? I'm Cam from Handheld, and every week I rank 7 best mobile designs that I come across. And this week, I've structured it as 3 different matchups. All 7 are solving completely different problems, but they're all making the same bet first. Picking a color that lands an emotion with the user before anything else happens. Let me know who you think got it right at the end. So without further ado, let's get into it. For round 1, we have 2 completely different apps, but both full of numbers that actually matter to the user. And both are trying to answer the same question. How do you make the user trust what they're looking at? Studio Sphere goes first, and the first thing you notice is just how white it is, which, when you think about it, is a very deliberate decision, because this is a health app. You're looking at your heart rate, and that's generally a already nerve-wracking experience. Nobody checks this hoping for bad news. So the last thing you want is a palette that adds to the tension before you've even read anything. And this is why Studio Sphere went for the clinical look. They borrowed real-life elements that we're familiar with already. Think of doctor's offices, hospitals as well. Even most of us completely hate them, we can recognize the inside of one from a mile away. That visual language exists for a reason. It signals that everything is under control, or at least trying to be. Studio Sphere took that and applied it here. One accent color on the visualization, and everything else stepped way back. And I love that small detail on the tag inside the text box as well, saying normal range. That's the palette being reinforced by the copy. Both are saying the same thing: calm down, you're fine. The record button is brought in from the physical world. That circular button feels like a real life action, like hitting record on an actual monitor. Those kinds of real life references matter because they reduce the cognitive gap between knowing what to do and actually doing it. Now Jay makes the opposite bet entirely, but still brings the inspiration from real life elements. Deep dark backgrounds, bright colored graphs and charts, and then that red gradient glow bleeding through behind everything. And I genuinely wasn't sure if that glow is reactive to the portfolio being down. Like if your numbers are in the red, the whole UI bleeds red at you. If that's intentional, then that's a great piece of live color storytelling that you should take note of. Whether it is or not, the darkness here is doing something completely different to Studio Sphere. It's not trying to calm you down, it's signaling an authority. Think of investment bankers, day traders, Wall Street, Bloomberg Terminal. Think of the screens in the trading room. That dark, high contrast environment exists to say, this is a serious tool for serious money. A bright, playful UI in a crypto app that gives you social currency based on your net worth would feel irresponsible, like getting financial advice from someone in a clown costume. The darkness says precision, it adds richness without adding noise. Both work, but for different versions of trust. Studio Sphere earns 3rd place through approachability, and Jay earns 2nd place through authority. The lesson these two give us is that trust isn't a single feeling, it's a spectrum. Before you pick a color palette for anything serious, ask yourself, do your users need to feel safe or do they need to feel powerful? Because those are not the same answer, and each creates a hugely different app. Now we got round 2, both vibrant, both high energy, both completely unapologetic about color. But here's the thing, on the surface they look similar, and underneath they're doing completely different things. The first thing to notice with Shane is that he doesn't go fully vibrant, even though it might look like it. The base is clean white and the color is concentrated entirely in the tier system. The rank trophies, the sunburst gradient, the 2D shadows, they only show up when the progression status lives, nowhere else. And what makes this really click is what's happening underneath the color decision. The old version of this screen said, bottom 10 get demoted. Shane's version says top 20 get promoted to the next league. It's the same information, but it's completely different emotional frame that shifts from anxiety to excitement. And the color system is built to match that reframe. The higher you rank, the more your position literally grows. Getting to a better tier doesn't just feel good conceptually, it looks better. The visual reward is instant and obvious. That's color as a feedback system, not just a style choice. Most designers would splash vibrant energy across the whole screen to make it feel fun, but Shane uses it to make moving up feel fun, and that's a much harder skill. Daniel, on the other hand, goes all in for a good reason. This is an iPhone standby app. Different clock styles, different cover backgrounds for when your phone's just sitting there charging on your desk. The fluted glass gradients are generally beautiful, and the way Daniel shows them off is great. The standby mock-ups stack on top of each other but are at the back on the Z-axis. Then the proto grade purchase sheet sitting on top of that The color usage and layout has actual depth to it. And those icons in that style with the text labels, the decision feels considered, not accidental. Here's why it all works. The product is color. You are literally choosing backgrounds for when your phone sits idle, and you want the most interesting ones. Color isn't decorating the experience, it's the thing you actually came to buy. And Daniel earns that right to go this bold because the context gives him permission. The other 6 designers in this issue would be wrong to design like this, and Daniel would be wrong to design like them. Bold isn't a style choice, it's something the product either earns or it doesn't. But out of the two, Shane's Restraint is the hardest skill. Knowing where not to put color, that's what separates a senior designer from someone who just knows color theory. But Daniel isn't being reckless, he's being accurate. Both earn their boldness differently, Shane through hierarchy and Daniel through context. And last but not least, we have round 3, and this one doesn't have a clean winner. It's more of a round table discussion that I want to have. We have 3 designers with 3 different apps people come back to daily. 3 completely different answers to the same question. What color makes someone want to open your app? And here's what makes this one especially interesting. This isn't a simple checklist app. It's an AI content generator. It reads your keywords, sources from your website, and understands your topics, and then builds SEO content for you. Which means the obvious color palette choices are right there waiting. Clean white, electric blue for the buttons, light gray for the secondary actions. Or shall I stop being obtuse and just say Shadsian and Tailwind? It's all the same nowadays anyway. But Roman, he goes in completely other direction. Warm earthy tones, serif fonts, organic illustrations that almost feel hand-drawn, loading states that feel dreamlike rather than mechanical. Roman, if you're watching, let us know. Did you draw those or have a prompt you can share? But the point is, for an AI tool, this is a real statement. No urgency, no optimization energy, just groundedness, like the AI equivalent of a really good notebook app. The earthy warmth makes the process feel like a creative ritual rather than handing something off to Claude or another AI app. That's incredibly difficult emotion brief to solve with color alone, and he pulled it off. Studiosphere shows up twice this week. The heart rate app previously shown needed to calm you down, but finance data needs to do something entirely different. It needs to make you curious about your money, engage with the numbers, and feel in control rather than intimidated. So this time they go vibrant, but only where the data lives. Rounded font for the body, and that headline font, great brand decision. I need it in fact. The pink against the off-white and dark brown, the chart showing spending versus savings in a way that makes you lean in and be curious. Traditional finance apps are basically Excel with a drop shadow. This makes your own money feel interesting. Color concentrated on the information makes the data feel alive. Color spread everywhere makes it feel noisy, and Studiosphere knows the difference. And then we have Shahab lastly that completely puppeteers using dark mode as a stage. Like movie posters and show artwork arrive with their own color energy. They're loud, they're designed to command attention, and you cannot control what they bring. That's the problem when working with UGC apps normally. If you put them on a white background, you've got chaos, like everything competing with everything else. Shahab gives the content a stage instead. Dark background, clean typography, and a UI that's completely out of the way. The posters pop against the darkness in a way they simply cannot on white. It's the same reason cinemas turn lights off when the movie starts. The content brings its own light, you just have to not get in the way of it. And the slight critique I'd offer are some of those subheadings under the section headings feel a little bit unnecessary. Like the headings are self-explanatory already, and removing those subtexts would give more space back to the content. But the color philosophy here is top notch. Even though those were great entries, there's no winner in this batch. What you should be taking from this matchup is, what does your user need to feel in the moment that they open your app? Roman, he says guided. Studiosphere says in control, and Shahab says they should be immersed. Pro tip, pick the feeling first, then pick the color second. So we had 7 designers and 3 matchups, and one thing they all understood. Color isn't an end state decision you make when the UI is mostly done. It's a decision you make once you get the first brief. It's an emotional contract you're saying with the user before they've even read anything, tapped anything, or understood anything to do with your application. And if you get it wrong, if you pick the palette that lands with the worst feeling, no amount of good UX recovers it. Because by the time your users get to your UX, they've already decided how they feel about your application. So get the feeling right first, then everything else will follow. So that's it for design picks number 28. Congrats to Shane Levine, Jay, and Studiosphere on the podium. If you're building mobile apps and any of this helped, share it with someone who's working on mobile projects right now too. And if you need mobile design inspiration on your X feed every single day, follow Daily Drops on X. The link will be down below. And also subscribe to the newsletter to get these videos and more mobile design inspiration and help in your inbox when they drop. If you want to be featured, tag Handheld Design on X or submit directly through the newsletter. Links are all in the description. And as always, I'll see you guys next week. Peace.